I'd like to call the meeting to order, and please rise for the flag salute. Everybody turn to the right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve or amend the meeting agenda.
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the agenda as given.
Okay, and is there any discussion?
I understand that we're moving public comments up a little bit, or
I think
that would be a. Go ahead, Jackie.
I think we were leaving them where they were.
Okay.
We were going to move them, but just wanted to make sure everybody was able to attend or able to be there for that. So.
Okay, so then I have no comment then. I just wanted to be sure we approved a change if there were a change.
Awesome. Okay, so then we're going to do a all in favor. I'm going to do a roll call. Art?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Arla?
Aye.
And Laura?
Aye.
All right, and our
members.
it's Morgan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Morgan, do we have you there for our? He votes aye. He's not
voting aye. He's still logging in.
Okay.
Leanna, don't forget to vote yourself.
Oh, and aye. And then do we? My question for that, Morgan, when he votes, do we also have? Please remind me her name.
Audrey.
Audrey?
She's not here today.
Oh, okay. Do later on, will we ask her as well?
Yes.
Okay, this is new, so I'm making sure that I have all my notes and I'm new.
All stuff that I wrote to them asking for a link.
Okay, and hearing ayes, I hear no nos, and so the meeting or the agenda is approved. And we are moving on to the public comment on agenda items. And I'm just going to read here. Oh, I lost my middle here.
You tried clicking.
There we go. The North Mason Board of Directors values the opinions and input of the community. This is an opportunity for the public to offer comments regarding issues being considered by the board on matters of the day-to-day operation of the district, such as policy, curriculum, academic standards, etc. The public is invited and encouraged to meet with the superintendent. On these comments, it is a 3-minute limit, and because we're on Zoom, we are setting it so at 3 minutes it mutes. So if you're still talking, know that there won't be any, we won't have any audio for that. So keep it within the 3 minutes if you can. And then if you have any other questions, please meet with the superintendent on that. And so let's see. And we are still with, and then public comments.
So I believe Jackie received information that we potentially had 2 community members who had comment on a board meeting agenda. We did receive written information yesterday and today from each of them. If they're not here and able to comment, we can read their comments. But Jackie, do you have anybody there to comment yet?
I do have Ken Van Buskirk on the phone ready to comment.
All right.
Yeah, am I good to go? This is Ken Van Buster.
I can hear you.
Yep, everybody can hear you, Ken.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Yeah, this pretty frustrating on my end trying to sign into the Zoom meeting. We've tried both the the link that was provided and the meeting ID and the
No, he's
passcode.
not.
So I hope you can get that resolved. I just wanted the board members to make sure, I wanted to make sure that all the board members received my written comments for
Did.
item number 4, the resolution. And I'm going to ask that there be a roll call vote taken on that matter, whatever way you folks decide to go with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
I have.
All right, thank you, Ken, very much. And there was another, you said there was a second one?
Yeah, in fact, and I just received an email from Brad Carey that said he was in the waiting room, but that's not showing up for Jackie, so she's trying to resolve that right now. I'm gonna email Brad too and ask him if it doesn't get resolved right away, if he wants to call her number to be able to speak. So.
Okay, do we want to, maybe if he doesn't come on quickly, we can move him down to the, when we talk about what he's commenting on, if he wants to do it there.
Yeah, I'm just telling him right now, let's see if he can call right in.
Okay,
Minor suggestion that might work for Ken at least is to try the Mason Web TV. At least then you might be able to see what's going on.
I think they both have the YouTube links.
No, she sent them the Zoom links.
Mm.
All right, let's just give it a minute for him to be able to see my reply.
All right, he's just now popped up. I'm admitting him now.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
There he is.
Hey, thanks. I was just sending an email. Thanks, man.
So Brad, we're ready for your comments.
Oh, cool. Okay, guys.
Perfect
Well, I
time.
just sent an email off to, by the way, my name is Brad Carey out here in Tahuya. And our kids went to North Mason. They're doing very well. And thanks to the educational system. And anyway, with regards to Theller Center or the Theller property, my only concern is that if I were a board member, I would probably be trying to convince my fellow board members that maybe we should try to reach out either directly or through our insurance company to the grantors, i.e. their, the people that were executors or designees or heirs to the estate, because I don't think they had any children, and just say, this is what we're looking at doing, and we'd like your blessing to move forward. What I'm trying to prevent is if somebody ever decided to challenge the transfer, claiming that the school district was parceling out the property or parceling out the property and also transferring it to an entity that the Thellers didn't want it transferred to. So that's my 2 cents on the subject. I think we all agree that we want to keep Theller. I mean, it's just a beautiful piece of property, and you'll never find another piece of property like that, in the country. And we need to keep it kind of like it is the best we can. And I get the fact that there's maintenance costs associated with it. I sent a copy of an article for the Kilworth property there with the Boy Scouts of America and how they were being overburdened with maintenance costs on their property. And so in that case, they ended up giving it back to the grantors, and they set up some charitable trust, and it's still serving the community. So that's my comment. Anyone have any questions for me?
no, thank you, Brad.
Okay, so I'm free to go have dinner with my wife?
Have a
Lucky.
good night.
Yes, you
I
are,
will.
and I will make sure that the board has gotten or will get both of the written comments that you and Ken submitted.
I appreciate it very, very much, you guys. Take care. Good night.
Thank you. Okay, did we have any more public comments?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, I think she was talking to Ken, but I think he had finished his 3 minutes there.
Yes.
So we are on, and thank you for those comments. We are on to student board member comments.
Okay, so I don't have a whole lot tonight. Audrey can't make it. She has a appointment. I think she's getting her wisdom teeth removed tonight, so she is unable to make it tonight. But she wanted me to tell you guys that the vandalism issue that we talked about last month that was happening in the bathrooms and throughout the halls seems to have been resolved. There is still some minor issues with that, but not much more than the usual. So it's.
If I can add to that, Morgan, I was so impressed with your students' solution to that, and we will share pictures with the board and the community. Can you talk about what that solution was in the bathrooms, the murals and stuff?
Actually, I did. So I haven't been to the school in a while because I've been doing Running Start. I did not know about this, actually.
Oh, well,
I'm a little out of the loop this
let
month.
me just share a little bit. So our students had an awesome solution. I don't know if a couple of years ago, driving through Bremerton, I noticed, those little electrical boxes that are on all the corners, and they had really cool art covering them to prevent gang graffiti and stuff. Well, that's what our school did in the bathrooms. They have gone in and did these amazing murals on the spaces, the sides of the stalls and the walls where kids were, writing stuff, put these beautiful pieces of art in there. And so we're going to take some pictures because it's just amazing how our kids solved that problem.
That's very cool. I did not know about that. Thank you.
Was it specific, like a specific class or club or who?
I would have, it started through leadership, but I don't know how they found all the kids, but it's beautiful art.
I think what we did, I think they talked to Miss Lucas, our art teacher, and got some recommendations of kids. And then I was told they tracked them down and found them. So, but that's about it. We have prom coming up in a couple months that we're getting ready for. It's going to be at the Admiral Theater in Bremerton. As of right now, plans may change.
Yeah.
So that's going to be busy starting just the end of February. We're going to start planning for that. And then come springtime, we are going to get some more activities going, some more. We're going to have another Spirit Week. Right now, we don't have a leadership class. So I believe it is the Honor Society took it upon themselves to host a Spirit Week coming up. It'll start, I believe it'll start on Valentine's Day and go through that entire week. And it's all going to be Valentine's Day themed from what I've been told. So a whole lot hasn't happened recently, but hopefully more will start in the winter time once the winter's over and we have a leadership class again. That's all I have.
That's exciting that you guys are putting an emphasis on love, right? Putting the Valentine's Day love into it, I guess.
I guess.
Well, thank you, Morgan. All right, so on to the consent item or the consent agenda. And I will, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and read this. The consent agenda enables the board to efficiently deal with matters that have been delegated to the superintendent, but by law must be approved by the board. Items on the consent agenda are voted upon as one block and approved with one vote. An item may be removed from the consent agenda only upon approval of a majority of the board. And the administration recommends that the board of directors approve the consent agenda as presented. So I will entertain a motion to approve or amend the consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, and discussion?
I have several comments.
Sure.
Nothing really substantive. I just wanted to go over the policies. 2161, 3246, 5400, 6220, all of them. I really appreciate that we get information about the policies in the consent packet and whatever. And then when I get a chance to look at them, I realize that at least with those four in particular, the changes are not substantive. They're really verbiage or changing a word here and there. And so that makes it really easy. So those four I have no problem with, and I have no problem with the fifth one, which is the holidays, but I have a question. This is policy 5410. It lists the holidays that we, that we have, that we approve legally or whatever you call. But it also talks about just on the, doesn't mention the winter break as a long-term holiday. And I'm wondering how that fits in, since it's only showing what a day or two of that as a legal time when we're closed. So could maybe Superintendent, could you explain how that works?
Yeah, there are specific holidays that are closed and we can't do business on those days, Christmas Eve, Christmas, etc. The rest of the winter break, that is a calendar decision we make, but it is not a required time off that we have. So that's why it's different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to understand. So by us having a winter break, so to speak, it is something that we're deciding as a district to do it that way, but we can also choose not to do that way, depending, although largely that's operational, that's really going to come from the superintendent. I just wanted to be clear. Thank you. Let's see. So I have nothing else on the policies. Let's see, there's the letter of agreement to Mason County. I didn't quite understand that. What is that all about?
That is really support for our students, for some work that they're continuing to do in some student leaders and staff in partnership with the county. It's a grant to support efforts on behalf of prevention of substance abuse among our students and within the community, and dealing with things like suicide and those things as well. So it's providing funding to help students and staff support some activities to provide support for our students in those
Okay.
areas.
Thank you for that. The letter of agreement really doesn't spell out what happens or what, it's just really, it's more of the format of, if you do this, we do that. And if, to get out of it, you do this, and here's how much it costs. And, it's a formality thing. It doesn't tell me very much, but thanks
Yeah.
thank you for that. And the second thing right underneath that is community partners education. I just want to say congratulations to Mrs. Fontenot and I forgot her first name.
Carla.
Carla Nix, or the other
Oh.
one.
No, Nix.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nick. Anyway, congratulations to both of you.
Yeah,
For what you're doing and for those educational grants. And I'm glad they're in the consent agenda, because that means I get a say in saying, yes, we did, you get it.
Yeah.
And then finally, the USA funding commitment. I'm also a little bit confused about that. Or is
yeah.
that,
So
is
I'm
that
gonna
maybe further
have,
down the agenda?
yeah. I'll have Viet On address that during her part of the agenda.
Okay, so
Oh,
this is not part of the consent
to-
agenda.
Yeah, this is funding for, it is part of the
Oh,
consent
it is.
agenda. But what this is this is funding that we received through a grant that Clint wrote to improve our Wi-Fi in all of our buildings. So that is just getting finished now. So we now have upgraded, or we will soon, the Wi-Fi in all of the buildings to better support, now that we have computers and kids are using them all the time. And, the world has changed and we need to be able to have that Wi-Fi access to do our business. That's what this helps support.
Okay, yeah, it was kind of threw me for a loop. So thank you. That's all I have as comments. No other questions or things.
Well, yeah, and then
ahead.
go ahead. I did want to note, it does say on the consent agenda, right above that, or I guess it says that January, under the teaching and learning update. Oh, yeah, that's not in the, that was not in the consent agenda, Art. That's why I got confused.
Okay.
But so I'll wait till we get there. That's all.
I also had a couple questions, and one was, thank you, Art, for asking that about that Mason County letter of agreement. So Dana, so the county is providing funding to
Yes.
the school district, right?
Yes, the
and
county
it-
got a grant that they're sharing with us.
So that youth prevention group, how long have they been meeting, and what types of things have they been doing? I'm curious.
Well, it's been different things each year. Some of the time it's been like focused on the middle school, and there were additional dollars that we also partnered with RESD in previous years that helped us fund a prevention counselor at the middle school that
Okay.
we don't have access to this year. But they have done different kinds of presentations or countywide or local meetings to bring in people to talk to kids and families about the issues and about how to get help and what the resources are. So that's kind of their focus.
Okay, great. And then during one of the policies, the one about the bids and going out for bid, I might have just been really tired reading it, but I could not wrap my brain around what that self-certification section, what that process was and why that was a little bit different. Are you able to describe that to me in layman's terms, Dana?
Yeah. I'm just reviewing it again. So it used to be, you can see, the language that is different is it used to be a little bit more restrictive, and that you really had to, in that under 40,000, that we still had to work on getting 3 bids and following all of those lowest common bidder rules. But now there's a little bit more flexibility there. And you have to document what you can do and if we've done what we need to do there. And then in the other place, below it says, if we're going to use that, then and we want to go above the 40,000 or 50. So those thresholds are where I can make a decision without bringing it to the board. And then the board would have to make a decision they wanted to raise that limit and get permission to do that from OSPI.
Okay, I'm trying to pull up the policy, but it's
yeah, we're not going to ask you to change any limits. We like our limits right where they are, but that is new required language because the laws changed, so we had to change the language in the document.
I do understand that. I think let me just try to scroll down to this. I guess I don't know what self-certification means. So I'm understanding that there's the section for the non-federal funds, the section for.
Yeah. Well, really what it relies on last time we were audited, the year previously, how we were rated. And if we were rated as a low risk auditee, which is what we were in our last year, then we have the ability to
I see. Okay. I see.
Then we have the ability to make some of these decisions and certify that we made the correct decisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it really is a benefit. The self-certification piece only applies when you have been classified as a low risk auditee. And so, sometimes districts, we are this year, sometimes through just the way the rules are and how things rolled in a year, a district might not be quite low risk, but you're not in trouble. So you would still need a little more support from the state in some of those things. It just kind of depends. And right now, this gives us, this language wasn't here before, so it gives us a little bit more flexibility if we have been fiscally sound enough to be qualified as low risk.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, and we're still on the consent discussion. So anybody else? All right, so I will roll call for approval of the agenda. Art,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Arla,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
and I say aye, and Morgan.
Aye.
All right, so the agenda is approved. And we're moving over to the James A. Taylor HomeLink presentation, right?
I may make a comment right before that. By our doing that roll call vote, which we've been doing all along on these Zoom meetings, we did do what Ken Van Busker wanted us to, because the Feller Wetland parcel has now got a roll call vote because it's part of the consent agenda.
No, it's a resolution, isn't it? It's a separate resolution with
It
act.
Oops.
We're going to do it again. But
Right,
I
I'm
think,
reading my thing wrong. Okay, sorry, my mistake.
and I think in the Zoom that we found it beneficial to do roll call with other things as well. So we'll make sure to keep doing that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's coming up
mistake.
here in a minute.
All right. So Anne is on, I believe.
Yes, we are, we scheduled every month, everybody this month, each of our departments and our buildings, to bring you up to date on some of the great things and that are happening for students. So Anne Crosby and Amy Butel are going to talk to you about what's going on at James Taylor and HomeLink this year that you might not be aware of.
So I'm going to introduce Amy Butel, who is doing her administrative internship with me this year in James Taylor and HomeLink. She is also our HomeLink elementary teacher. And so she's going to do a little bit of a presentation on what the elementary program in HomeLink looks like now, as opposed to in 2008, where we had a pretty strong elementary program, and then we kind of closed that down and just did secondary. And then due to COVID, we've sort of brought that back, and she's done a tremendous job with that. So I just wanted to give her a chance to kind of share that with you first.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, board, for giving me the opportunity to share some exciting things that are going on with HomeLink. Hopefully you've had a chance to go through the PowerPoint. There are some great comments by parents. And so I will just give you an overview of the PowerPoint, and starting with enrollment. Altogether with HomeLink, we're around 140 for HomeLink in general, but for the elementary this year, we're at 26 right now, and as opposed to 0 a couple of years ago, and last year we had 8. But this year pretty strong at 26, just admitted another one today and have a couple more on the waiting list. So that's really exciting. If you've know anything about other schools and their online programs, they offer 4 core classes. We offer the 4 core ELA, math, science, social studies, plus we offer health and PE, history, and art, and that's for the grades K through 5. So they get all those subjects. A lot of questions, the big question that comes up is socialization. Where are they going to get their socialization? So the great thing about HomeLink is we do have weekly social emotional meetings. I do them by grade band. So we have weekly Zoom meetings. They last about half an hour to 45 minutes. We have a lot of fun. We get to know each other. They also have to do a weekly and a monthly check-in with their parents. So they do get that socialization through us. Through K-12, our curriculum, which is also Stride, they offer a Lego club, a weekly Lego club, music, a DIY club, theater, and then back again to HomeLink, we offer an online Zoom interactive art. So the kids can pick up their supplies at HomeLink, at James Taylor, and they can get on a Zoom and do an art project together with Kathy Dunn. And Anne's going to talk about that in a minute here. We do a tier 1 wraparound of our students. So basically what that is the students are encompassed by, first of all, their parents, because it's a parent partnership, by myself as a certified teacher for North Mason, their curriculum, Stride K-12, and then support also from an online teacher at K-12. So they're really encompassed with a lot of support. And that support has led to stellar attendance. And as of now, all of my students are passing, and some of them have even finished some of their classes to where I've got a 5th grader who has 3 classes left, ELA, math, and science. So, you know, in the slides, you'll see comments like fun, challenging, flexible, continuous learning, like when we had our snow. If they're sick or if their parents are sick, they can still continue to learn at home. Less stress and anxiety, and more family time. So that's exciting to see those comments by the kids and the parents. Also, we've been able to offer more support to our ELL students and to our students with IEPs. And that is done through fast bridge testing for our ELL students. And that gives us intervention and progress monitoring, because we have to be able to reach every student and make sure that that's equitable education for every student, even those that are homeschooled. We also offer the high cap testing, the WA kids, because I do have 2 kindergartners, the fast bridge and the smarter balance. So just like in school. So basically our goal is to reach the whole child where they are and teach them in a way that they can feel safe and they can grow and even flourish. So that's what we're really seeing a lot of this year.
Thank you, Amy. Do you have any questions for Amy before we move on to Art?
I just had some comments really, and actually, I guess I do have a question. How many ELL students do you have in the elementary program?
I have 4. But with our WIDA standards that we're implementing, and we're actually doing PDs and training with that could actually include more than just our ELL students. It could include students that maybe need more intervention for ELA, but that's something that we're training on right now. So that's just for elementary.
Right, specifically elementary. I think this program it's just so great that we have this. And it sounds like testing, and I guess I'm curious how parents find out about this. You know, it sounds like it's, you know, how do they find out about it? I guess I'll just ask.
So you mean about the HomeLink program in general?
Yeah,
That's a really good question, because Ann and I have talked about how we need to really amp up the marketing for it, because I get so many comments from parents that I wish I would have known that this existed. This has been such a good fit for my child. Again, it's a parent partnership, so we have to have, you know, strength on the parent side. They've got to be involved, but that's something that we're in the talks about. We need to strengthen our marketing, our website. And right now it's just really a lot of word of mouth and parents that are in it referring other parents.
I was going to say the slides that you have with all the each of the testimonials is so amazing to see. And those slides almost as is, if you have permission from the parents, you should put those on our Facebook. I thought I saw that was cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Arla.
On the art with Kathy, is that an age limit, or is that all the way across K through 12?
That is 3rd through 12.
Oh,
we are trying it out as far as elementary 3rd through 5th. And then we do have a couple of students that have younger siblings that are 2nd grade. And so if they have siblings that are in 4th or 5th grade, they join in with them. But right now we're just trying that out.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, how many students are involved in the art project?
For elementary, I can't speak for James Taylor. I know when I've been in James Taylor in the Commons and they're doing the art, they have a really good turnout and the kids are so excited with the hands-on. For elementary, I believe she has 6 or 7 with this art. They do have art in their regular K-12 curriculum as well. And the great thing about that is the history lessons that they're doing, the art goes hand in hand with the history that they're doing. So they get a lot of art history. And so then this is a nice change to have the hands-on art.
I think it's a great thing. And I would really like to kind of join the group if I could. I think that's pretty exciting.
It is.
I'm really excited about that too, because we've made a decision in our household. And I talked to you, Amy, the other day or yesterday, that I'll be moving my son to HomeLink due to medical. We've had so many inconsistent ups and downs that he's going to be going and trying out HomeLink. And I think that's going to be, I mean, I'm not going to try to be selfish over it, but I get to see, because he's gone through elementary and then he went through a little bit of middle school here, and then he'll come back. But just this year with every inconsistency, I'm really excited to see how it works just kind of firsthand. So I'm excited about the art part.
Yes.
Very cool.
I just want to say that you exemplify what you're talking about. I think that's a wonderful visual. I wish I knew how to do it. It's really beautiful. The eye looking at us could be the severe eye on the dollar, but it is more friendly because of the 19th century elaborations that are around it. So it looks fun. It looks.
There we go. Inviting.
Yeah.
You want to do it like Laura. She wants to do the art.
Yeah. The look and the thing are iconic.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick before I don't get to talk about art at all, and that's what I wanted to talk about most. So I want to give a little bit of some kudos to Kathy Dunn. I hired Kathy at the beginning of the year to be our career and technical ed teacher. We have been working on graduation pathways and trying to get our kids up to speed with meeting all the graduation requirements. And she is the one that came to me and said, I'd like to do art. And so she put together, along with her CTE program, she put together this art program completely on her own. Excited to see what we could do. You know, we've tried to maintain our integrity of being an online program, but like anybody, 6 hours on the computer would drive just about anybody nuts. So she has done a fabulous job putting together a hands-on art program for both HomeLink and James Taylor. James Taylor kids are in person doing art each week with her, and it's voluntary. If they need a fine arts credit, they're in the Commons. They each pick a project and work on that. And then for HomeLink, she developed what Amy talked about was basically just packets of an activity. They pick up the supplies. She works with them online, and the kids do it both elementary all the way up to 12th grade. And it's been absolutely fabulous. And the products she's getting are pretty amazing. And so, you know, when we talk about how tired staff sometimes get, especially during this time, man, she is all energy, all enthusiasm, and all in when it comes to providing these experiences for kids. And I just can't, I'm really proud of what she's been able to do for our kids, and they have really excelled in this. So it's been great. And the parents are excited. They're excited when they don't really have to be on the computer all day long. We can give kids some breaks. And kids that you wouldn't think would be into art at all are producing amazing things. And even if they don't, they're very proud of them.
That's amazing. My gosh.
Oh, that looks great. Goodness sakes. look at this stuff. I mean, this is really something.
You should share this on the Facebook too.
Definitely.
And when you're talking about history, if I might just put in an ad, I noticed on the previous slide, there was the full pyramid that is also on the dollar. Someone might mention the connection of that with the Continental Congress, from which we get our Great Seal.
And actually, Anne, that was my question too. Are you able to teach different disciplines through the art medium?
You know, I would say that everything in James Taylor and HomeLink have evolved. We are addressing some social emotional needs through art, which we've not done before. We have always tried to find a kid's gift. So if art is the way they want to express a concept, that's all good. We just want to know they have the standard. And if they have the standard through whatever mode, then that works for us.
Perfect.
Do they have photography and the stuff you can do online as part of art?
So we have both digital photo and digital media. So yes.
I want to go back to high school. Oh, gee.
Kathy has taken those frameworks for CTE and put them in an online framework that we're getting approved through OSPI for next year.
Nice.
Well, it really looks nice.
And I had a question about a comment you made at the start. Why did HomeLink close down in 2008?
So in the beginning, when the elementaries started the online programs, I think schools initially started these partnerships to keep and retain some of the homeschool families that were out there, and that population was growing. And so what happened was we were, at one point we were 100 kids in HomeLink between the elementary and the high school. But as the state started to recognize they were funding parent partnership programs without much oversight, they started to create more rules for families to follow. And the more rules the families were following, the less
they wanted to do it.
They wanted to do it. So when COVID sort of was the catalyst for us bringing the elementary piece back, and I think that the timing was right, not the COVID part of it, but we are running at capacity right now with HomeLink, just based on staffing. We had, Pam White was my only teacher with 16 kids, and now I have 5 teachers in an art program and a CTE program, and everyone's got 20 to 25 kids. So it's growing, and I don't know that it will ever be what it is now, but I think it will always exist in school districts.
Was it that it was the elementary piece completely gone, or
it was gone? The requirements became too much for the parents who were traditional homeschool families to do. They didn't want to be regulated that way. And then we just didn't have the staffing. Kathy Dunn at the time was my only elementary HomeLink person in 2007 and 8. And it was just difficult to maintain that capacity with the way things were changing.
Well, I think there's a great deal of initiative and creative thinking on the part of the teacher in charge of this, and I think it does our district proud. So kudos to all that are responsible. I wish I could get in that class.
I'll let her know.
I love playing with photographs and finding little programs to change them. And oh man, here's somebody that knows what they're doing.
I'm really excited about it too. I mean, art is my life, and my son he loves it too, but expression, anytime I hear a district having to get rid of their art
Yeah.
the kids lose their expression. It doesn't come through doing, I mean, sometimes it does doing math and English and whatnot, but man, if they lose that outlet, this is probably the class that I would pick first over anything. So I'm so
You bet.
excited.
And there's a long history of the relationship between art and science. I'll only mention Audubon. And there's lots of other examples to go through with that. Thomas Henry Huxley was a great artist who could really make drawings of the skeletons that he anatomized. And I think that the connection between art and science is something to be emphasized. And I'm glad that we have this creative program.
Awesome. All right. Okay. So anything else with that? No. Okay. So I am moving my screen over here because it's doing something weird. Okay. All right. So we are on to the resolution 01-DG-22 Feller Wetland Parcel. And the administration recommends that the board of directors approve and adopt resolution. What I just said, the Feller Wetland Parcel as presented. And do I entertain a motion for that and then discussion?
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept resolution 01-G-22 Feller Wetland Parcel as presented before us.
I think we should read the resolution.
I entirely agree.
And,
Yeah.
and I would like to provide some explanation as well. So,
Yeah, that's what, oh, go ahead. Nope.
no, well, you can go ahead and read it out first, and then I'll provide some additional information.
Well, I don't have the rest.
Can
Yeah,
Jackie click on it? And there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, maybe I
Got
did.
it?
Yes, I see it, and I can read it. I was just seeing if I had
Since
that.
I moved it, do I have to read it or what?
You can read it. Would you like to?
Why not?
All right.
Where's the title? It got cut off. Surplus of real property resolution number 01-G-22 Feller Wetlands. This resolution of the North Mason School Board number 403 is in accordance with RCW 28A.335.090, which provides the Board of Directors with exclusive control of all real property of the school district, and 39.33 RCW, which provides for alternative procedures for intergovernmental transfers of property. Whereas the North Mason School District owns certain real property located near the district's Early Learning Center at 22871 Northeast State Route 3, City of Belfair, Mason County, Washington, consisting of approximately 90.41 acres and composed of 5 separate parcels with tax exempt numbers 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 9, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 92, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 0, 6, 0, 9, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 1, 0, 6, 0, 4, 2, 0, and 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 6, 1, and commonly referred to and known collectively as the Feller Wetlands property. and whereas the Feller Wetlands property consists mostly of undevelopable wetlands, tidelands, and a trail system through a classroom building and exhibit center, parens, the quote, watershed project center, end quote, end parens, sit on parcel number 1233250000029, and a parking area used primarily for access to the wetlands and trail system sits on parcel number 1233250000061, and whereas the district has managed the Watershed Project Center for a number of years and uses the classroom building for environmental education learning opportunities, and whereas the district is in discussions with the state of Washington, through the Department of Fish and Wildlife, regarding the transfer of the Feller Wetlands property to the state, contingent on continued public access and use for passive recreational purposes, and the district's access to the Watershed Project Center, all into perpetuity, and whereas, the board of directors has the statutory responsibility to find property surplus or not, and the authority to dispose of property that it determines is no longer required for school purposes, and whereas the board of directors, upon review, there's a comma after whereas the board of directors, upon review of current information and future planning needs, as well as the public benefits related to the proposed transfer of the Feller Wetlands property to the state, has determined that the Feller Wetlands property is no longer required for school purposes, and whereas, the board of directors desires to commence the process to consider transfer of all or a portion of the Feller Wetlands property to the state of Washington under the authority of Chapter 39.33 RCW, period. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the North Mason School District number 403 does hereby declare that, subject to the contingencies described above, the Feller Wetlands property is no longer needed for school purposes, and that the Feller Wetlands property is surplus, and be it further resolved that, having declared the Feller Wetlands property as surplus, the Board of Directors of the North Mason School District number 403 does hereby authorize the district to publish notices, hold a public hearing, and take such other actions as required under Chapter 39.33 RCW and Board Policy 6882 regarding the disposition of the Feller Wetlands property to the state of Washington.
That was very nice, John.
Good job.
That's what I move we accept.
Thank you. So I want to make a couple of points about this resolution. This resolution is a simple first step to surplus the property as no longer needed for our school purposes, contingent on transfer to WDFW and continue that the existing property, I just lost my note here. Anyway, continue that the property will continue to follow the requirements of the Feller will. And if it does not, then part of what we're working in the draft as we work with the state of Washington is that it would then revert back to the district if those requirements weren't being met. I think it's also important to realize that this is just a first step, and the second part of this resolution is for you to authorize us to then publish the draft of the transfer agreement and to hold a public meeting and to get the input from the public so that then you can make a determination on whether or not to complete that transfer of property. I think it's also important to know that the agreement that as we're developing it, this keeps the property in public ownership, and it references the Feller will as well as the restrictions on use of the property as a result of that transfer. In addition, part of the documents that we are preparing include a quitclaim deed, and as drafted and appended to the transfer agreement, it does in fact have a reversion clause that if the state ceases to use the property consistent with the Feller will, it will return back to the district to manage again. So I just wanted to make sure those points were made, and I most want to emphasize that this is a first step, and in the next step, the public will again have an opportunity to comment, as we have had early in 2014, 15, 16, 17. We had a lot of discussion, and then about just between 2 and 3 years ago, just before COVID, we had a big public forum together with Fish and Wildlife, and we were going to proceed at that time, but then Fish and Wildlife had some changes in staffing and things happening in their office, and then that got slowed down, and then COVID came, and that also interrupted their ability to move forward with the transfer at that time. So that's kind of why it's taken a little bit of time since that last public forum. And so I hope that answers most of your questions.
So we're revisiting and taking up kind of where we left off in the beginning.
Yeah, in a couple of years, 2018, 19, a couple of years ago, yes.
Okay. And has anything significant been added or changed since those discussions?
Well, I think the really important thing here is the way that we are drafting and what you will see, and our attorney is still working with Fish and Wildlife, so we don't have that draft. You know, it will be available soon in following with the requirements of the RCWs. All the timelines will be met. But what we're working on is a way that benefits the community, that continues to ensure that those recreational purposes that Mr. Feller wanted the wetlands to be available to the community for will always be there. But also that the Fish and Wildlife Department is appropriately funded and set up to manage park and recreation activities, and they will be the owners and managers of that property. But also in the district, we will continue to have first use and access of the classroom and exhibit center space for the needs of our students and our educational purposes. But we won't be the owners, so they will have to worry about the upkeep and caretaking of all of those properties, and we will get to be using it for our kids, but as a user, not as a owner and manager.
So we still get to use it for educational purposes.
Yes.
But
And
not
we
having to pay for it.
Yes, and in the agreement, we get to use it when we need it, and that's the first, if we get first dibs, I guess is the easy way to say that. Yeah.
First right of refusal.
Yes.
Does the surplus involve all of the properties in, just to clarify, the playground, the pre-K center?
No, the playground and the pre-K center and the half of the parking lot that is adjacent to those spaces are retained by the district.
Yeah.
And actually, as part of the agreement, we will be allowing a right of way is not the word.
Like an easement or
an easement. Thank you. Because people, we will transfer the other half of the parking lot, from the bathroom building over. That's part of the parcels that would be going to Fish and Wildlife. So they will have to create their own entrance off of Highway 3 into the parking lot because they won't drive through our school parking lot to park there. That will be separate. And then they will walk from there down to the gate. We'll have a little easement there that they can make, that people who are accessing it can use that. But the pieces that we're using for early childhood will remain ours.
Great. I had two more question or comments. Thank you for going over the little sort of mini history of what's happened since the last time. I know that it sort of seems like there's been a pause on this. To put it simply, what do you think is in it for WDFW? What's
Well, it's adjacent to their other properties that they own. So our 70-ish acres are adjacent to many more acres that the Department of Fish and Wildlife owns and manages. So it will make it a cohesive piece. And then also one of the things that they're considering, I believe, is that they don't currently have like a place to actually have an office for their people in North Mason. So they will use that office space that's part of the exhibit center, at least as a place they can come and use as an office when they need to. So it gives them kind of a home, but really it's more about, and then they can manage it and ensure that the recreational purposes that our community has enjoyed on the wetlands are still available for folks. And I think I'm actually going to a meeting tomorrow afternoon, and I don't think Feller's on the agenda, but with Department of Fish and Wildlife, they have a overarching plan to protect and support the environment throughout the state, and to continue to ensure that there are recreational lands available to people in our state and in our communities. So it fits with their mission.
right?
And it kind of brings cohesiveness to their footprint in North Mason.
That's really well said. I was thinking over Brad's comment, and I don't know that this is really a question, it's just another comment or wondering, but his comment about bringing this to the attention of any existing heirs or, the grantors. I mean, it's my understanding that that's us. I mean, the school district was the primary heir. I know I'm pretty sure everybody else has passed, or, I don't know if you have more information on that, Dana, or any.
No, that actually is correct. And our attorney has been through all of those pieces, but we were the heir who received the properties. And in the process of creating this transfer agreement, if we have a transfer agreement, we now become the grantor, and the state becomes the grantee. And then in our agreements, that's where the revision piece is, that says if they don't comply, everything comes back to the district.
Right. And then you and I have had some conversations about the Skokomish and potential interest there. I'm curious if the conversation came of that.
Yeah, I'm continuing to talk to them, but we had gotten to the point in this discussion with Fish and Wildlife before we heard that the Skokomish might have an interest, that we couldn't stop where we were at. We had to move forward. That was, the thing that we had to do. But I think, in 2018, 19, and before then, when we started to talk about what about transferring to Fish and Wildlife, we had done a request for proposals out to all the agencies that we could think of broadly, that agencies could find and was available to them. So people who were interested could say that they were interested, and we could kind of work through that process. The only response we got at that point in time was from Fish and Wildlife. But I think it's also important to know that Fish and Wildlife throughout our state partners with various tribal agencies where Fish and Wildlife might be the owner of the property, or the agency is the other tribal agency is the owner of the property, to continue to provide access and to honor the history of the lands. I mean, because I think it is very important that we honor that the lands that we are all on are the ancestral homes of the Skokomish people. And that will be, I'm sure, that is a partnership that Fish and Wildlife has engaged in many places throughout our state.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. And that's actually when I came on the board, was right in the middle of all that. And Feller was a very personal thing for me, with my grandparents using the facility for the reasons that they did. So I think it's a response. It's responsible to ensure accessibility, that it continues for our community, and in neat different ways too, not just, you know, the same way. Change is kind of hard sometimes, but seeing things move forward in such a good way, and that it gets to come back to us if it ever went outside of the parameters there. I think that's, I think making sure that we have that in there, that's really cool. It makes me feel good that it would rest safe if it ever went outside of that. So anyway. Okay, any other discussion on that?
Well, I just want to say I've been part of this process, I can't say since the beginning, since that goes way, way back, you know, all the history of the issues. But it does seem to me, if the word deliberation means anything, this board and its predecessors have deliberated this issue among themselves and have shared their deliberations and opportunity to comment more than once with a larger community. And Dana has been involved in a number of negotiations about this piece of property. And it seems to me that we've looked at this pretty much from every angle. I'm concerned as an elected representative with monetary issues. It seems to me this is important from the standpoint of the taxpayers' money, in that this will be a move that removes us from having to pay for what basically is the maintenance of a park, which is not really our business to begin with, and that we ended up in because of a number of historical contingencies. But it seemed to me, as Dana has outlined this is a win-win situation. It's a win for the community, because should this resolution go into, into action, nobody will ever know. I mean, in terms of the action, you'll go into the park one day and you'll go into the park the next, and nothing will have changed. That's the kind of change conservatives can get behind. And so it benefits the people. It benefits the school district by removing us from an expense loop and a responsibility that is not technically or legally ours. And it preserves the heritage and larger historical value of this piece of property. And so it seems to me that this proposal, until I get more information or different information, seems to me the prudent and responsible thing to do.
I would just like to comment that this resolution puts in place a surplus property that we will rely on public input at a meeting.
Hear, hear.
Get everyone else's comments, information, suggestions. I appreciate Ken Van Buskirk going back over the chronology of the whole Feller wetland all the way back to Sam Feller's will. I appreciate all that work that he did and how passionate he feels about that, the wetland area. And I also appreciate Brad Carey giving his perspective as well. And I would look forward to a public forum where we can hear from many people. And I sincerely hope that we'll be able to do that in person. Hopefully everybody would be masked, but just to be able to have that kind of a conversation in a setting where everyone is present, so that we get a clear understanding of how the community feels about where we need to go. I particularly appreciate the fact that we are articulating the contingencies that we look for if the wetland parcel is transferred to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, because those would be very important in maintaining the Feller will and the wishes of the community. So that's my thought.
I had a quick question. You may have said this, I may have just zoned out, but do we know if it will stay free, or will we have to have some sort of Discover Pass or Fish and Wildlife Pass to get into the park itself?
Good question.
Wonderful question.
Yeah, no, that is part of our discussion with Fish and Wildlife, and that is part of what we are requesting. So that will be addressed and specifically stated in the final agreement documents that we bring to the board to consider.
And so when do we roll call first and then talk about when to set a public, or do we talk about that first?
Yeah, you need to, when you're ready, you can take a roll call and vote on the surplus piece. This gives us permission to set a meeting.
Okay.
We will set a meeting probably in conjunction with a board meeting. The RCW is very clear that it's on the number of days of advance notice that we have to publish in the newspaper of these meetings. It is not more than 20 days advance notice and not less than 10, I believe. So there's a very tight timeline when we have to get it published. And we are still, Denise and Stiff Arm, our attorney, and Fish and Wildlife are just completing a draft. And when that is ready, we will see if it would be available for the February or the March meeting.
Okay, then I will, if there's no other discussion, then I will do a roll call. Art,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Arla,
Aye.
and I for me, and Morgan.
I vote aye.
All right. Okay, so that is adopted. And then we'll deal with the public part, set that later.
Yes, that will be announced, as we make sure everything's agreed in principle to, so that we have something that our attorney and I believe meets all the requirements of the will in our district, and that Fish and Wildlife meets whatever their requirements are, so that I have a final document that I can bring to the board to read and ponder and consider and hear from the community about in a hearing setting.
Okay, so if we aren't saying exactly when it's going to happen, where is the best way for people to know or to look to be aware of that?
So we will do the announcements in all our typical announcements about board meetings, because it will probably be in conjunction with a board meeting.
Okay.
And we will publish in we will publish it in the Mason County Journal and potentially the Kitsap paper as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. All right. And then I know that this is, some people had been looking on the Belfair Community Network, and as of recently, it had been deleted. are taken down, so you can't get information shared there. So just a side note on that. I don't know if it's going to get to come back, so.
Okay, well, we tend to publish things